and take advantage of our 2 great rates. South Central Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
For home restoration at a price you can afford, trust the professionals at Farrah Construction to get the job done on time and within your budget. Farrah Construction can remodel your home or can update your kitchen, bath, or other rooms. I'm Ron Hall. If you can dream it, Farrah Construction can turn it into reality. Call Farrah Construction at 615-893-6120. Shop local. Let our family business help you. Farrah Construction Company.
FM 1019, FM 100.5, WGNSradio.com. The Good Neighbor Network.
I can radio that's kind of possessed.
It's Coast to Coast AM overnight, every night.
You have a possessed radio?
Yeah.
WGNS, Murfreesboro. We're the Good Neighbor Network. FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro. FM 100.5 Smyrna. Audio and video streaming at wgnsradio.com. This is the Roundtable. A look at the news, views, politics, and people that are shaping Rutherford County.
Welcome into the Roundtable again on this Wednesday morning. Chip Walters with you from Exit Realty, Bob Lamb and Associates, and the Blue Raider Network. And it has been something that we've been looking forward to throughout this whole basketball season. Is one of the fun weekends of the year is Legends Weekend on campus, and former players coming back. And this year, really excited that we're going to be spotlighting the 2015-16 Blue Raider basketball team on the 10th anniversary of one of the great moments all time in Middle Tennessee history, and that was the win over Michigan State and all the things that led up to that. And Coach Kermit Davis joining us. He'll be in town this weekend for that, along with many of the players from that ball club. But Kermit, good to have you. Always, always good to be able to sit down and reminisce about the old days, because we all get a little better looking, and everything was a little bit better. Isn't that right?
It was. I've aged a little bit since then myself, Chip. But it's going to be a great weekend. I know our players that are able to come back are really, really excited. We've got 4 or 5 because of obligations of playing or coaching or whatever can't. But yeah, I think it'll be a fun weekend, and we're looking forward to being in Murfreesboro.
Yeah, it's what's kind of a great thing is, like what you just said, there are several of the guys who are still playing pro ball. I know I nearly ran into Giddy when we took a trip to Italy with Nick's guys a couple of years ago, and we just barely missed each other. But it's fun. I still talk to those guys on Instagram or whatever, Jacory and all those guys. A lot of and they're still tight together.
They really are. Giddy's going to be able to be with us. He was at a stint in the G League, and I think he's about to maybe go overseas, but he's going to be here. Perrin Buford, who is going to kind of got lucky, and his break is going to work out to where Perrin's going to get to be here. He could kind of confirm that early this morning, about 3:00 in the morning, with the time change. And then Darnell, obviously, is coaching Wake Forest. Reggie Phoenix Suns. Carl Gamble is still playing. So we've got different guys who are coaching and still playing.
Well, and I was looking through I just pulled up the roster the other day, and Darnell came through not too long ago, and he walked up and said hello, and he had cut his dreadlocks off, and almost didn't recognize him until he said something, but that's a kind of a cool story. I'm not sure I would have expected Darnell to go into coaching, but you gave him that opportunity to kind of get his feet wet, and boy, he has taken off and running with it.
Yeah, he's a rock star in coaching. Chip, he was my GA at Ole Miss, and you could tell. But Darnell always had this great basketball intellect, and he really thought the game well. Told him things one time. He had a great feel for it. But then when he came to Ole Miss, I mean, just his presence on the floor. Obviously, he's always had great, personality with people. And then his junior college coach, Steve Forbes, we were all great friends with it. And Greg Grinzing kind of led the recruiting on Darnell and with Steve Forbes. And then Steve took him, and he's kind of worked up to now. He's a full-time assistant at Wake Forest. So Darnell, I really think will be an opportunity to be a head coach here one day.
Isn't that amazing? I mean, and you've had, I don't know whether you have a list written down or anything, but guys who have, who have come through your tutelage at whatever school or whatever level that have gone on to coach and have been successful at it. But like a guy like Darnell, you said you saw that in him. I can't say that I did. But man, he seems to be just doing great. So good for him. Now Reggie Upshaw, who I still say, and I've been around middle basketball now for 45 years, just about. I still say is the best overall player. If I had to rank, there's probably been better shooters, there's probably been better rebounders, there's probably been better whatever. But when you put a total package together, and I don't tell Reggie this in person because I don't want his head to get big, but I think Reggie is the best overall player to ever wear a Blue Raider uniform.
Well, that's saying a lot, Chip, because you've seen it for a long, long time, and have seen a lot of great players come through here from a lot of different eras. You gauge it by people who impact winning, and Reggie obviously impacted winning even as a freshman playing on the 2014 Conference USA championship team. First year we're in Conference USA. It was kind of playing the three, and with Sean Jones, who I guess was MVP that year. But again, Reggie, you're right. You watched him play as a young guy, and I mean, he could shoot, he could move. He had toughness because of football and his dad. He really thought the game. He's very athletic. So yeah, he had a lot of great qualities, and won a lot of games. And then, but Giddy talks about after Reggie left, I think then Giddy broke Reggie's record for most wins in MTSU history. So there was a great run of a lot of really good players during our time there, kind of 2010 to 2018.
Yeah. Now Reggie is another guy who's gone into coaching, and when his playing career overseas, I think he finished up in Germany, but Reggie and I, we were pretty close and stayed in touch. But he sent me a message and told me that Coach McDevitt had reached out to him when his playing career, he had some health issues where he couldn't play anymore, but he's doing great. And, he wanted to get his feet wet into coaching, and Coach McDevitt gave him that opportunity working in player development, and he seemed to really like it. And here was a guy who could come into the program, and talk to the guys about what he did as a player at a very high level at Middle Tennessee. And, and he made a great impact while he was here as a head or as an assistant coach.
Yeah, I'll always be grateful for Nick, to really making that happen, and he and Chris to help Reggie. And Reggie and I had just gotten through, I talked to Nick and to Chris, and we were talking about Reggie's future at Middle Tennessee, and he'd kind of signed a new deal that he was coming back. And all of a sudden he calls me, he goes, "Coach," because I'm headed to Phoenix. I said, "What?" And so just, going to the Phoenix Suns, and now he's learning a lot. Seems like he's doing great there. I think he's spending a lot of time on player development on the floor. And the NBA teams, just like college, they look for ex-players that can be on the floor and be able to kind of play and teach with the players and give their physicality as a good player there, which is an asset. And then he's doing a lot of video and different things, which is great learning experience for him. And so, what a great opportunity for Reggie.
This might just unlock the door for other bigger things for him in the coaching world.
Oh, he will. He's another guy just like Darnell. He's a rock star in the business, and like I said, he's got a great pedigree, and he understands basketball, great work ethic. So if he chooses to stay in that field, he's going to have a tremendous career in coaching.
Kermit Davis joining us today on the roundtable as we're going down memory lane. 10 years after the Blue Raider men knocked off Michigan State in the NCAA tournament. We'll get to that magical couple of weeks here in just a moment, but kind of going over a little bit of the where are they now. You mentioned Perrin Buford was going to get the opportunity to come in. I know Perrin has played in different areas overseas. He's been in Australia. Where is he now?
He's in Beirut. And
oh, wow.
He was up. I think for sure he's in Beirut. He was in Japan. He was an unbelievable player in Japan. I mean, made great money, pulled up unbelievable numbers. It's funny. I had 2 or 3 NBA teams call me while I was still coaching at Ole Miss about Perrin. He was on the radar. I mean, he's played great. He was really probably the most unsung player on that team. I mean, Jaquan Raymond had this great run, and the injury to Jacob Ivory and the injury to Ed Simpson before the Conference USA tournament. But Perrin Buford was a talent, and tough, and had big games during really the whole season. And but yeah, he's right in his prime in Europe and playing really well again. That's great.
Jaquan, you mentioned Jaquan. He kid out of Georgia, out of that South Georgia area, came in here. He had, he'd started at NC State, really found himself a home, and he just had a special something about him that I'm not sure exactly you could put a finger on, but he had obviously a point guard skill set, and had the right. He had just had the right stuff.
He did, Monty Tao, obviously Jaquan was at NC State. And so Monty was kind of the lead on that to get Jaquan to come to MTSU. And you're right, Jaquan kind of came as a 2-3, this spectacular athlete. And then to watch him evolve, Chip, into this point guard. And I mean, in these big games. I mean, he played so well and for us for a couple years, but then down the stretch, we put the ball right in his hands, and he was the point guard when we won the Conference USA tournament. And then he played outstanding against Michigan State, played well against Syracuse, and he's just a wonderful guy. And like a lot of these guys, but he has such a great love for MTSU, and he's looking forward to being back with us for Legends Weekend.
I tell you, and he, he comes to a lot of games anyway. It has ever since he's gotten himself in the business world, out here in the mid-state area, and he seems to be doing really good. And everybody, and it was funny. Everybody talks about Giddy Potts, and wherever we go, still to this day, people like broadcasters, will ask, well, where's that Giddy Potts at? Because that name, and I didn't think it was all that unique or odd. I mean, heck, my name's, Chip is a unique name, I guess, too. But everybody want to know about Giddy Potts, and when you think back on the year that he had, and a guy that had a season where he shot nearly 50% from three, and just, you talk about a guy who should have played football as well, with that body of his. Giddy has, he has still continued to be able to have a career playing basketball.
He did. He's in Italy, had a great run in Italy, and then he's he's with his his family in Athens, and he had a little stint for the Birmingham G League team. Getting out of conversation the other day that he may be going to another place, kind of spring and summer to play. I think Giddy really has an idea of he wants to coach, and I told him, I said, if you do, he's another guy. We'll make a great coach, and we'll get him started in a coaching, somewhere. And but it's funny. He was a guy that he's from Athens. He wasn't going to go very far from home. You watch some film on him, and God, he could just shoot. A little heavy, but could just shoot. And real quiet, but a great smile. And it was amazing, Chip, to watch him evolve as a freshman to obviously the sophomore year he had. I mean, that was unbelievable. He led the country in 3-point field goal percentage. But I don't know if I ever had a guy evolve more from here to there to be a leader. And I mean, where he just ran the program, especially his senior year. And so his leadership ability, uncanny ability to shoot, and his toughness. And so, yeah, what a great player and great guy. And so we were just fortunate, had some unbelievable players, great talent, but they were all just good people.
Yep. And one other guy I wanted to mention before the break, and you talked about him just a little bit earlier, was Ed Simpson. And you think about the really good teams that you had, they all had a glue guy. And
Yep.
Ed Simpson was, he did suffer an injury, but Ed Simpson, you talk about quiet, and but a guy who would go out there and his example was how he went about his work on the floor, and he was kind of a glue guy for you in the locker room.
He was. I mean, Ed was from St. Martin's High School and on the coast of Mississippi. And his recruitment, he's a brilliant student. I think
Mechatronic engineering, if I remember right.
Exactly right. And now he's doing great in that field, in that Huntsville area. And but it came down to either us and Harvard or us and Yale. I mean, it was really legitimate. It was going to be Ivy League or us. And the mechatronics injury, he loved the basketball part at MTSU and our connections from Mississippi. But the mechatronics engineering gave him the piece that, okay, I can get this Ivy League education at Middle Tennessee. And that was a huge part of Ed's decision. And obviously he's taking advantage of that really well. But he was a great defender, really good shooter. He won a ton of games, and just played a vital role. I never forget that day in Sanford's gym, the day before we opened up, in Birmingham to play the quarterfinal game. And I mean, we were doing a get back drill, and he kind of took a wrong step. And I mean, you heard something pop, and it was just that fractured ankle that was just, I hate to use the word, but it was gruesome. And
yeah,
we literally, Chip, we stopped practice and everybody just sat on the floor. And remember the trainer running over Chris and putting a towel over Ed, and we had to call the ambulance. And we waited for like 40 minutes for this ambulance to get there. And obviously, that's a big practice. I think we're fixing to play Charlotte in the first.
Charlotte.
Good. And we stopped practice, and we just went to the hotel and kind of met. And then Ed came back with his biggest smile on his face in a wheelchair. And, we're good. I mean, he wasn't going to play, but he was good, encouraged the team. And so he was a big part of our season that year playing. But that was a big part of our run, just inspirationally, in the conference tournament and then the win against Michigan State.
Yeah, it was something else. And that was such an emotional swing. And, it might have been, something that actually pulled this group even a little closer together than it already was. But special group we're talking about today, the 2015-16 Blue Raiders being honored this weekend as on Legends Weekend at the Murphy Center. Coach Kermit Davis joining us today. We'll step aside for a timeout here and be back with more. We'll talk about that magical run right after this as you listen to the Roundtable on WGNS.
Whether it's a cough, a fever, or something you can't quite name, MMC Now makes care easy. Walk right in, get seen quickly, and your visit connects directly to your MMC doctor. Care you trust, with providers you know, with digital check-in and multiple locations around town. MMC Now is here when you need us.
Murfreesboro Medical Clinic.
What's the location of your emergency? I think my kid OD'd.
Hi, I'm Craig Harris. I'm County Commissioner of Rutherford County. One of the reasons I ran for office is because I wanted to bring awareness to the opioid epidemic that's impacting our county. To stop providing this epidemic with people as we educate. We have a lot to do, and we have to come together as a community because this problem is not going away.
When the weather turns bad, minutes, even seconds matter.
This is an early heads up for southern Rutherford County.
Rutherford Weather brings you live radar and expert meteorologist insight, giving you the early heads up when storms threaten.
A lot of areas are going to see some impacts from this storm.
From analysis to live camera views, we keep you informed before, during, and after the storm.
I think the vast majority of the hail with this now is going to be quarter to perhaps golf ball size.
Rutherford Weather. Stay ahead of the storm.
Choosing the right insurance can be overwhelming. That's where Rick Hall at Rayburn Insurance comes in. At Rayburn, we're not just about policies, we're about people. Rick Hall will take the time to understand your needs and find the best coverage at the best price. We've been serving our community since 1973. So why not let Rick Hall take the stress out of insurance? Rick Hall at Rayburn Insurance Agency, where you're more than just a policy number. You're our neighbors.
Good Neighbor Events is brought to you by the law offices of John Day, AmeriCare Pest Control, and Old National Bank.
Hey, I'm ordering dinner. I was thinking burgers.
Boom! I just earned a $600 bonus for opening up a checking account at Old National Bank. Sorry, what'd you say? Burgers?
No, I definitely said 40-ounce dry-aged tomahawk steaks. Yep, with those little sauteed mushrooms.
Earn up to a $600 bonus when you open an eligible checking account and complete qualifying activities. Visit oldnational.com/checking and get old. Member FDIC. Additional restrictions apply. Offer valid through June 30th, 2026.
Now, WGNS Good Neighbor Events. The Salvation Army's The Princess and Her Hero begins at 4 o'clock Saturday afternoon at the Salvation Army on West Main Street. All of the area princesses and their brave heroes, dads, grandpas, uncles, or even a special father figure. A fairy tale evening of their daughter and their hero. It starts at 4 o'clock Saturday afternoon. The admission, $5 per family at the door. That's this Saturday at the Salvation Army. And remember, the Red Cross is critically low on blood. Please give the gift of life. Phone 800-RED-CROSS and make an appointment to give blood at a time that fits your schedule. There's a free grief support group every Wednesday morning at 10 at the St. Clair Senior Center. Don't throw away Old Glory. Bring your tattered American flag to WGNS and let the girls from BSA Troop 2019 at Trinity United Methodist Church retire it with dignity. Plus, we also recycle Bibles. Those are WGNS Good Neighbor Events.
Rutherford weather.
Cloudy today with a chance of rain showers. High temperatures reach up to 66. Chance of rain showers tonight, 59. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki on News Radio WGNS. Right now, 60.
WGNS is powered by Middle Tennessee Electric. Sharing Change has donated now over $12 million to local nonprofits. Find out how your spare change can make a big impact at sharingchange.org.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna. Listen and watch at wgnsradio.com.
Coach Kermit Davis joining us today on the Roundtable on WGNS. And, Coach, before the break, you talked about Ed Simpson's injury, and you were right down to the nub getting ready to take on a really good Charlotte team in the conference tournament. And how did that change the way that you guys were as far as substitution rotations? And you know, you got you and Wynn and Greg and Ronnie had to get together and figure out how, you know, who's gonna get those minutes and all of that. How, do you remember some of the conversations from that time?
Yeah, I do. You know, obviously Xavier Habersham was playing, you know, some off the was a really good player for us off the bench. Jaquan was a critical force, but it was just going to kind of, you know, we had lost Jacob Ivory, who had played a lot, you know, with a concussion. He still stayed with our team, but couldn't play anymore. Quay Copeland, you know, was a guy that was a real talent, was good with the ball. So we knew that Quay's role was going to have to increase. And he had a really good conference tournament. But really was kind of Jaquan. You know, the ball's in your hands, and I mean, you got to really stay out there and play. And he did such a great job, and even his scoring went up. He distributed the ball well. Like I said, we got good minutes from Quay Copeland and Xavier Habersham.
I think Adonis Foote even got his minutes kind of went up a little bit.
It did. And Adonis was a really good, tough player. I think he had 9 or 10 in the Marshall win in the semifinals. And Adonis had great, basketball instincts, played good against Michigan State. So, yeah, those, like I said, it's just, it's an old cliche, but next man up. But it really was. And then we had such a good nucleus of players, on that team. And but that team right there, we won a lot of regular season conference championships, but I think we finished second that year, and I think UAB won the regular season championship. So it was a quick turnaround because we played the very next day and won a really tough, close game against Charlotte.
Well, you did, and you beat Charlotte 79-61. And I was going to look at the box score there real quick on that one. And for Middle that day, Reggie had 27, Perrin Buford had 22, and Giddy had 18. So you got over 60 from your big three in that one. But Reggie was just a horse that day against Charlotte.
He was, and you're like you said, you can absorb a critical injury like Ed when you've got some players like that, and then Darnell Harris obviously was a huge mismatch problem at the 5, and because you couldn't, if you didn't switch on him, he's going to make threes when you start picking and popping, and we took advantage of his offensive skill level right there. But you're right, off to a good start, and I think then from there we played Marshall in the semis, and as we all know, that was a really talented team.
Oh man, was it ever? And that game ended up being 99-90, and that was not an overtime game. It was just, you talk about a tempo game where things just got rolling, and that one, looking at the box score of it, Jaquan had 20 that day. Perrin Buford had 18, but he had 5 assists in the ball game. Reggie 17, Giddy 13, Darnell Harris had 13. Everybody, chipped in. Xavier Habersham, you mentioned him, had 9, and Adonis Foote had 9. So you had like 8 or 9 guys that were right at either double figures or right at it.
I think, Chip, in the second half, if I can recall, I think we won the second half 61-60. So it was, if I'm not wrong.
That's right. You're exactly right. You were up 39-29 at halftime, and actually Marshall outscored you 61-60 in the second half, but it ended up being a 9-point win. Yeah.
I remember we just had to keep scoring. We couldn't stop them. That team, we had a really good defensive team, but their offensive structure they had and great skill level with Elmore and all those guys, and they kept scoring, but we were such in a great rhythm. And you could just, what you just said, all those scoring for all the players, we had such great balance on that team. You could get 5, 6 guys, almost 7 guys into double figures, and we needed every one of those 60 to get into the finals against Old Dominion.
Well, and that, the thing is, you win that game 99-90, and then you turn right around and have to play a game that is just going to be like pulling teeth, because Jeff's teams, they were half court. They made every possession so valuable because they were really good, great defensive team, and you end up winning that ball game, 55-53, something like that. 55-53. And, that was a team that, during the regular season, you had incredible battles with, and you knew they were going to be really good when it came to the tournament.
Yeah. I have a lot of respect. Jeff and I are, in fact, he's the chair of the NIT selection committee, and I'm on that committee. And Jeff and I have stayed. We've been to to Camp Arif-Jan in Kuwait together on a troops trip. And I have so much respect for Jeff. But you're right. It was just going to be a half court slugfest, and we were down most of that game. We were just fighting it, even late. Like with a minute something, they go up. I think we tipped one in or got a bucket to kind of go even. We had a really good stop late. The ball got on the side. We ran up a little play for Reggie in isolation. He gets fouled, and it makes 2 free throws to kind of get us up 55-53, and then they missed kind of a last-second shot. But it was a tough, hard-fought semifinals and then a finals just to get the opportunity, Chip, to play Michigan State. We get beat in that game, we don't go. We're not getting a Lark, so we're going to be in NIT. And so we had to win that game. And so that was a huge one to get the opportunity to play in the first round against the Spartans.
Yeah, for Old Dominion that day, their 2 big guys, Freeman and Baycoat, had 17 and 15. And, it's like we talked about, you had 8 or 9 guys that were almost either in double figures or had 9 points. You only had 2 double-figure guys in this game because it was a grinder. Giddy ended up with 14. Darnell had 10, and nobody else was in double figures. Jaquan had 9. Perrin had 9. Reggie ended up with 6 points in that ball game. But one thing I do remember is they ran a terrific play at the end of the game that just happened to not go in. But it was a great play that they had. I don't know whether they had it in already or whether they drew it up or what, but it was, I would think, that's one of those that, after the game, you guys put that one in your playbook too, because that was a great end of the game kind of play.
Well, I talked to Jeff about it because we're up and they inbounded it kind of, where it looked like it was about 2 or 3 seconds ago that it was going to be a 70-foot desperation. Well, when it was really a shot pass or kind of a long, almost looked like a desperation shot, but it was really a pass to a guy at the arc. And we were just kind of all of a sudden, because it looked short and it was short, but the guy caught it at the arc and he really got it off in time and he just missed. And so that game could have gone in overtime, but you know what? In those kind of games, you got to have some luck and some good fortune. And we've been on the other end of that a few times in those conference tournaments. So great win for our fans. We had a great representation of fans in Birmingham. And it gave us a great advantage there. And I hated that tournament ever moved out of Birmingham because it was just catching on. I mean, really catching on with our fans, UAB, Western Kentucky, everybody. So, but that was fun for sure.
Well, we've kind of caught that's starting to happen now in Huntsville, which that's kind of a good thing.
I was so excited to see that, Chip.
Yeah.
Go back to Huntsville. You're exactly right.
Yep. Well, that set the stage. You ended up, it was such a great celebration on Selection Sunday. And if I remember right, was that the one where the bracket got out early?
Yes, I think you're right. I think
like an hour early, somehow the bracket got out. But anyway, we found out we were going to St. Louis and taking on a 2 seed in Michigan State, which that Michigan State team was, a lot of people thought, well, they're a number 2 seed, but they may be the best team in the tournament.
Yeah, they just won the Big Ten tournament championship. A lot of people had picked them. They had the National Player of the Year and Valentine, who was terrific. Still one of the very best point guards I've ever played against as an assistant or head coach for Michigan State. Obviously, Tom's, ability for his culture and what they mean and how they play. And to this day, he's never lost another first round game, and so he just always won first round games whenever his team was in the tournament. So it was great because we knew that our fans could drive to St. Louis, within that drive.
Boy, did they ever.
They did. I mean, it was a great crowd of Blue Raider fans. And I think we played on a Friday, so we got to watch it on Thursday, and we can talk about it. But we just had a great week of practice kind of leading up to the first round game on that Friday afternoon.
We did. It was, we played. It was a Friday afternoon. It was the national game on CBS, which everybody in the country was getting that game on Friday afternoon. But you talked about the great week of practice leading up. If I remember right, Ronnie Hamilton had the scout on Michigan State, and he said, told you, Coach, we got a shot here. We got a real shot at these guys. What was it in his scout and in his homework that he did on them that gave him the idea that you guys had a real chance to win that game?
Well, obviously, we had a lot of skill in a lot of different areas. And, we did a couple things in that game that we haven't done a lot. We started the game by switching 1 through 5 man to man because they were so good. They had such rhythm of offense. So we did that. We thought that our 1-3-1 could affect the game because Tom is such a great play caller, and that 1-3-1 could kind of get it unconventional a little bit, although they played great. They got in a rhythm too, and they started playing great offensively, but it got us off to a good start. But Ronnie did a great job with the scout, as all the other assistants have done all year long. What we did that week? We didn't do any physical activity because, we had just, with Ed's injury, I just told myself, I said, we're going to have everybody available in this game. Now, it's a great art in coaching. We got it from the NFL, college basketball. It's filtered into college basketball, from NFL to college football to here. How to be physical in practice without contact, so you can still be cutting and physical with pads. And so we did that. And, but also too, how they guarded, Chip. The Big Ten's was a very conventional league. They're not going to switch anything. They weren't going to switch any ball screens. So when you have pick and pop guys like Reggie and Darnell, we thought that we could get some advantages there, and we did. And then it was just one of those games that I've gone back and watched it a couple times, and just watched offense and just how our guys cut and moved and executed. But then after that, you have to make shots, and we did at a high level. And the biggest thing, my take when I watched it, Chip, Michigan State played good too. They played good. They shot 55% from the field. They made threes. They out-rebounded us by 2. They were in a great flow offensively too. So we did give our guys credit. They just played, and Michigan State kept making runs, and our guys just responded every single time.
Well, to me, one of the keys was the start you had. What was it, 15-2, something like that?
Yep.
Did you have, in your wildest dreams, could you have imagined that you could have gotten out to that kind of start?
No, not 15-2. Obviously, we shot make. We picked and popped, ran some really good offense early. Giddy got us off to a great start. Darnell made the 3, kind of put us up 15-2. Reggie, Jaquan, all of them pairing, they all played. We executed in line out of bounds. But what kind of got us off to that start was that I think us switching 1 through 5 got them out of rhythm. But the 1-3-1, if my memory serves me right, Valentine had 11 or 12 assists, but he also had 6 turnovers. And so that was a key. It got him out of rhythm. Now, Tom being the great coach that he is, and their players and team, they kind of got back into a rhythm, Chip, and so it was hard for us to stop them, but we never trailed in the game. And
I thought that was key. They never got the lead. They tied it.
Yeah, but they never got the lead. And, but I think the biggest thing was that I think we tried just to convince our guys that we did have this chance to win. And I gave them the illustration that, guys, if it was just a pickup game in Nashville and it was shirts and skins, and it made sense to me when I thought about it, and you didn't know who anybody was, and you walked up there and there's the middle guys in skins and you didn't know who they were in shirt, you never thought you were going to lose a pickup game. I said, it's just a shirts and skins game, man. It's just what it is, and just go play to our identity and let it fall how it was. And another big thing too, Jim, we'll talk about it later, is it's about how these upsets happen. Is as you know it, that arena in about 2 minutes, it goes to a home court advantage against Michigan State and for the Blue Raiders.
Oh, absolutely. Raiders taking on Michigan State back in 2016 in St. Louis, Missouri. Coach Kermit Davis is our guest today on the roundtable as we reminisce about one of what I think is either the number one or code number one greatest moments in Blue Raider basketball history. We'll come back with our final segment with Coach Davis right after this. You're listening to the Roundtable on WGNS.
Whether it's a cough, a fever, or something you can't quite name, MMC Now makes care easy. Walk right in, get seen quickly, and your visit connects directly to your MMC doctor. Care you trust, with providers you know, with digital check-in and multiple locations around town. MMC Now is here when you need us.
Murfreesboro Medical Clinic.
Well, yeah, I'll be right there.
It takes all of us to power a community, both in plain sight and behind the scenes. Middle Tennessee Electric, bringing good energy.
What's the location of your emergency? I think my kid OD'd.
Hi, I'm Craig Harris. I'm County Commissioner of Rutherford County. One of the reasons I ran for office is because I wanted to bring awareness to the opioid epidemic that's impacting our county. To stop providing this epidemic with people as we educate. We have a lot to do, and we have to come together as a community because this problem's not going away.
If I had to rate the office of John Day,
I would definitely give him a 5-star rating.
a 20 stars.
Probably like 100 stars. John Day's office was wonderful.
They are caring.
Call the law offices of John Day.
I would recommend them to everyone.
Over 1,000 times a year, a lawyer refers someone who needs help in a personal injury or wrongful death case to us because we treat every referral in a timely, professional way. Trust the lawyers other lawyers trust. Trust the law offices of John Day.
At Maples Realty and Auction, we handle traditional sales, auctions, and property management. And we have a development called The Maples with local builders and amenities. I'm Betsy Maples, and this is our team. It's our people. That's the difference. Call us today and let us help you get your property sold.
I refer a lot of clients to Maples Realty when we have real estate issues that are coming up. Working with Maples has been easy for me, easy for my clients.
Put our 57 years of success to work for you. Sold!
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna. Listen and watch at wgnsradio.com.
Kermit Davis joining us today on the Roundtable as we talk about that great day back in March of 2016 as the Blue Raiders knocked off Michigan State 90-81, and it was as that thing went down the stretch. Middle had led. Middle had kept turning away Michigan State time and time again, and then there are images of all great sporting events that come to mind here when you think of, for instance, the hockey team when they beat Russia. You have the image of what was going on the floor. The image that I think will live forever from the Michigan State Middle game is Reggie Upshaw's dunk at the end that kind of put the exclamation point on this unbelievable victory.
It was one of the most iconic plays, I really think. I know I'm prejudiced.
The ball never touched the ground.
Yeah, and all five guys, Jaquan Raymond, the ball was on the side. I think we're up 5. And as Tom does, he's so good at special situations on the side. So we're going to switch everything. Then Jaquan, they ran a great kind of ball screen, back screen play. He was open. Jaquan made this great play to steal it. And then the ball never touched. All 5 guys, pitched it ahead until obviously I think it was Darnell that gave Reggie the shot that he dunked it and one to put us up 7. And that was the first time you really kind of feeling you're never secure, but that obviously we're going to win the game at that point.
Yeah, at that point we knew it was over, and Reggie gave that kind of sneer that he had after he got the dunk, and did all his pump ups and all that kind of thing. But you're right. It was so because that team in any great team, they are a team, and that play was such a microcosm of that unit because, like you said, all five guys touched it. It was all about passing. It was not about somebody dribbling and having a curly kneel exhibition out there on the floor, but it was all about all five guys making a play, and it was the one that just sealed the deal.
It was. I mean, Jaquan Steele to Giddy to Perrin extra pass to Darnell, kind of right at the half court, and then obviously saw Reggie, and he dunked it and got fouled. But it did, because on that game, I think we had five guys in double figures for the game. I think our assisted turnovers were maybe 16-10. I mean, it was good numbers there, but it was just, we just had different leading scorers throughout the year, and it really was. It typified just that the kind of the demeanor and the personnel of the team, and then what I loved about it is after we won, just kind of how our guys reacted.
Yeah,
somebody told us
about this a lot. Yeah,
it was amazing. I mean, it wasn't any court storming, and we're all so excited. Don't get me wrong, but Perrin or Giddy, boom, popped the ball on the floor, and they just kind of jogged and got in the handshake line and shook everybody's hand, and and it was a classy way to end the game against maybe the classiest program in college basketball over the last 30 years.
Yeah, and exactly. And I've always been curious if you and Coach Izzo have talked after the fact of about that game and what, because he is so gracious in those situations, and he was that day. But I'm curious after the fact if you guys ran across each other at a coaching convention somewhere and just had a chance to talk about it.
Well, we did in recruiting, 2 or 3 times. And, but just, obviously it was I guarantee you, if he said what was probably his most disappointing loss in an NCAA tournament, had to be that one, because his team never got beaten the first round. And it's a team that could have won the national championship. But yeah, he's just so gracious. And it's one of those deals. I mean, we played fantastic. His team played good. And in most or nearly every one of a 15-2 matchup, the 2's going to win every time. If you shoot 55% and score 81 points, you're going to win. But it was just that day that our guys were at such a high level. And like I said, it was one of maybe the best game I've ever been a part of from an offensive execution standpoint, for 40 minutes.
Yeah, it was. And, when it was over, the hotel was 4 or 5 blocks away from and there's so much going on after the game. You had, certain things you have to do, and the players and the media crush after one of those kind of games was crazy. After the fact, Andrew Ottman, talked about the amount of coverage that game got on a national basis. They put a monetary value on it. It was like $3 million worth of, if they'd had to buy that kind of advertising, it would have been $3 million worth that put Middle Tennessee's name out there on a national basis. But all of that going on. I'm walking back to the hotel and I've got a jacket on or whatever. It's got an MT on it, and people are yelling, "Hey, whatever, about that." It was one of those. It was just awesome. And then you guys had to turn around, and you had 48 hours to get ready for the best zone defense in the country with Syracuse.
And they ended up going to the Final Four. And Syracuse upset Dayton, because Dayton was the favorite. Archie Miller was coach at Dayton, and Dayton was very good. And so, and maybe there was some skepticism, Syracuse shouldn't have been in or whatever, and obviously they proved their mettle. They beat Dayton in the first round. And then we got out of the gates. I think we're down 4 at half, 31-27. And we had 18 offensive rebounds, but every time we offensive rebounded, they blocked it. We couldn't get offensive rebounds to baskets. They were linked around that goal, was nominal. And then the second half, they took off, and I think Jaquan Raymond fouled out, and Syracuse played great, ended up upsetting Virginia and go to the Final Four. But you're right, the media never forget, Marty Smith, that's the fame Yeah, well, Marty was, ESPN couldn't do any interviews on site because it's a CBS telecast. So I never forget, Reggie and I, he goes, he either texts me or something. He goes, Kermit, is there any way you and Reggie can meet me outside the arena? I said, yeah, we can, Marty. I said, where are we going to go? So we had to go outside the arena where all the fans were coming in. And we were just out there, me and Reggie and Marty Smith and maybe one camera guy. It's all the people were hollering and, especially with Reggie and all the deal. And Marty, I never get Marty Smith. We did that interview. And then Reggie and I kind of walked from the arena back to the hotel in the fray of everybody, which was pretty cool. But it was an unbelievable memory. And I never forget the feeling I had for our fans. I mean, players number one, but it was our fans and just administration, kind of the enjoyment that knew that MTSU was in the elite of college basketball, because you knew exactly what kind of publicity that game was going to get over the next couple of days.
When did you have an idea that this group was special? I know you early on in the year, you guys went to Alaska.
That was it.
And I mean, it was actually, which is kind of ironic. It was the first time you'd really cross paths with Coach McDevitt with his UNC Asheville team. And you go up there and you win 3 straight. And that kind of had to give you a feeling that this team was kind of tournament built.
Yeah, anytime you can win a tournament, and it was one of the Alaskan shootout, obviously, when we were all growing up, Chip, it was the Mac Daddy. It was the one he worked on at 1 o'clock in the morning. It was Duke playing Kentucky or whoever it may be, And so we went there and we had to play the favorite, the home team first. Anchorage got up big, held on. And then next team, we got up big, held on, I think about 2. Then we played a really good Toledo team, really good, and beat them 8 or 9. But just to be able to win a tournament like that, Chip, I thought it boded very well for us winning the Conference USA championship. And but coming back from Alaska, I was on the plane with our staff, and we knew we had a chance. We really did. We liked our group, don't get me wrong, but to win 3 like that and to win a championship and kind of see the confidence level of our team, and Giddy had really started kind of breaking out, just making shots, and all the other guys playing good. So yeah, you're right. It was probably at that time that we knew. And then another one, we beat Auburn in Nashville.
Yep.
Same year. They had us down 9 or 10 at half. We came back up big. They tied up. We beat them in overtime. I think the Predators played an ice game. Right, as the first college NHL hockey doubleheader in the history. I don't know if he's ever done it again. But, just to beat Auburn, Bruce's first year at Auburn. And so, I think our guys had confidence, like, okay, we can go and play and really play at a higher level.
Yeah, you guys came back, lost a game to VCU, but you had 3 big wins in December. You beaten South Alabama, Auburn, and Belmont. Yeah, all back to back to back, and I thought that kind of set the stage for things. So,
yeah,
but it was a heck of a year, 25 wins, and it's I'm so fortunate. I was a freshman in college when Middle beat Kentucky, and I got to be at that game, and then to be able to call the Michigan State game and be part of that. The only downside, I told Kyle this at one point. I said, here we have the biggest win in school history, but there was nothing really dramatic at the end for the dramatic, call that, to hang my hat on, except for Reggie's dunk, of course. The dramatic call, as I look back, came in the Old Dominion game when and that was one I remember. Kyle and I were driving home from Birmingham, and our radio call that day of winning that game and going to the tournament, we listened to ESPN radio all the way home, and they kept playing that every half hour, and it was just a surreal thing. And then who knew that there were even bigger things coming up in less than a week?
Yeah, Well, Chip, you and Kyle, and I've listened to the radio call, and like always, you guys have done such an unbelievable job throughout the years, and it's so much fun working with you guys. And, a couple guys that I haven't mentioned, number one is Chase Miller. Chase was obviously a walk-on on that team.
Talk about true blue.
Yeah, and I mean, he's poured himself, and Chase and I've communicated a lot for the weekend. Obviously he's coming back, and it's just meant a lot to Middle Tennessee basketball, and obviously what he's done for giving for the Blue Raider Athletic Association. So kudos to Chase. And then Ja'Cory Williams, who's ended up being the MVP, he redshirted. That was like the year before you had to sit out. And so Ja'Cory was a transfer from Arkansas. He sat out that year, and I'm telling you, he helped us so much because, man, about January we go, uh-oh, we got us a cat right here. I mean, he was so good, and he was so driven. I never forget, he couldn't travel, but I think he drove, St. Louis, and I think watched the game, and he was just unbelievable teammate, and he's MVP, and he has this unbelievable senior year. So there's, I'm sure, other guys I don't mention, but it was a great group from the sports staff, administration, and a lot of those guys, Chip, are going to be with us. We're going to have a dinner that Friday night, and then obviously they'll honor all the other legends, and particularly our team, on that Saturday afternoon.
That's right. That'll be coming up on Saturday, the 21st. The Delaware Blue Hens will be in town, and look forward to seeing everybody then. Kermit, I really appreciate you taking time, and look forward to seeing you and Betty and Allie and the whole crew and all the guys on. And thank you so much for the invite to come out Friday night, and then we'll be having fun on the floor. I'm going to take part in that as well at halftime. And so everybody come out on Saturday, 1:00, Middle and Delaware, and all of our Blue Raider legends. So thanks a lot for taking the time today.
Well, thank you, Chip. Appreciate all the wonderful work you've done throughout the years.
All right, Coach Kermit Davis has been our guest today. If you missed any of this, check the podcast section of wgnsradio.com. This has been The Roundtable, and you're watching and listening to the Big G, WGNS.
Subscribe to Big G TV, local content that matters to Rutherford County.